Hey everybody, welcome to the first FBC Youth live video on YouTube. We're going to do this every week, starting this week at 7:40 on Wednesdays. I'll be in my office recording a 10-minute message for you guys to help you process and think through the week's reading that we've been doing. In a moment I'm going to talk about James 1 briefly. And then after this, you guys are going to go over to small group. We're going to push small group back a little bit to 7:55. So be here at 7:40 on YouTube to listen to a short message, a 10-minute message, and then we'll get you to small groups as we've been doing. Quickly, before we get to a short little message, I want to make sure that all of you understand kind of the three pieces we're trying to do for youth ministry right now. It's kind of a strange season, obviously, but we have three ways that we're trying to serve you guys, you high school and junior hires. The first way is video small groups. Okay, so most of you know about this already, but your small group leaders are hosting a small group via WebEx, a video chat service. Some of them have moved over to Zoom, that's the word. Some of them moved over to Zoom, but most of them are on WebEx. They're meeting right after the family hour at 7:55 now. So if you have yet to hear about that, contact your small group leader and get that link there. But most of you know about that already. I want to encourage you guys to be taking advantage of that time to look at God's Word together, to pray for one another, and just to be friends with your small group friends. So that's piece number one, small groups. Piece number two, we just added this last week. We're going to do a youth ministry chapter of the week. Okay, so this week you were told to read James 1, starting last Wednesday, going into this Wednesday. James chapter 1. So this was the chapter of the week this week, James chapter 1. Tonight in small group, you guys will be discussing James chapter 1. You'll be talking about what you observed during your reading. You'll be answering questions that you had about your reading, and your leaders will be encouraging you through James chapter 1. So we've got small groups, we've got the chapter of the week. So starting after tonight, it'll be James 2 going forward. So we've got those two pieces. And then I'm adding the third piece right now. We've got the youth live message on YouTube at 7:40 on Wednesday night. So 7:40 live message, 7:55 small group time, and then throughout the week we're doing the chapter of the week reading plan. So those are the three pieces we're trying to serve you guys with during this time of isolation and staying at home. We are excited to get back together eventually, whenever that does happen, but for now we're going to make do with these opportunities we have and seek to encourage one another and build you students up through these means that we have. Well, tonight we're in James chapter 1. And I want to focus for just a few moments on just one verse in James chapter 1. Your leader will take you through more of it, but just one verse that really struck me in James chapter 1. And as an aside, I want to encourage you guys, be struck by things during your reading. Don't just read through a chapter. Really, really kind of think, okay, what is it saying? What does that mean for me today? So the one verse that really struck me while I was reading was verse 18. Verse 18. So I'm going to just talk for a few moments about James chapter 1, verse 18. And as we're going through this kind of strange season of change, there's a really sweet truth here to be thinking about. James chapter 1, verse 18. Let me get my Bible. Forgot to grab my Bible. James writes this: "Of his, that is, of God the Father's, own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of firstfruits of his creatures." Let me read that again. "Of his own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of firstfruits of his creatures." Now, I just want to make a few comments about this verse and why it stands out to me. You know, during these seasons of change, it can be tempting to kind of struggle to know what we're about, why we're doing it, what we're supposed to be doing, what God is up to during this time, we can kind of start to lose our rudder, lose our focus, lose our understanding of where God is taking us, his people, during this time. And I think this verse is really helpful. It clarifies for us what God is up to at all times, what his big plan is, what he is doing with us, his people. And so I want to just walk through this verse quickly with you guys. And there's three main things to notice. First, I want you guys to notice that God's at work. Second, I want you to notice through what means he's at work, what he's doing and how he's doing it. And third, I want you to notice why he's doing it. What's the big picture, the end goal of his work that he's doing right now. So first, God is at work. Look at the first phrase there in verse 18. It says, of his own will. In other words, God is doing something, and he's doing it because he wants to, because it's according to his plan. He's got a big plan. He's got a will. He's got desires to carry out, and he's doing something according to his will. He's not being dictated by what other people are telling him to do or what the season is telling him to do. He is sovereign. He's doing something by his own will. What is he doing? What is he doing with his own will? Secondly, so of his own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth. So James is writing to a group of believers. So he's talking in the past tense because these people are already believers. But this is what God is doing today still. He is bringing forth people by the word of truth. What does that mean? That phrase, bring forth, is kind of the idea. It's the idea of birth. He's bringing new life to people. He's giving new life to sinners. He's giving new life to people. And how is he doing it? He's doing it through the word of truth. Look at that. He brought us forth by the word of truth. So generally, how is God working this new life in people? He's doing it through his word, generally, but specifically, he's doing it through the gospel, through the message of Jesus Christ, died and risen again, that we were just celebrating last week at Easter. He's giving new life to sinners through this word of truth. So God is at work according to his own will, bringing forth people, giving people new life by his word. It's not through other means. It's not through our cleverness. It's not through attending church weekly. It's not through your pastors. It's not through your parents. He's bringing new life to sinners through his word, through this book, through the message of Jesus Christ in here. That's how he powerfully works to give new life to sinners. And he's doing that. Why is he doing that? The second half of the verse shows us. He says, that, or so that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. We should be a kind of first fruits. Think of that image, first fruits. When the Israelites back in the day would go into their harvest, they'd go, pick the grapes or go deal with the wheat or even kill an animal. The first bit of what they got, the first portion of what they harvested, was always set apart for God. It was always sacrificed or given over to God as a tithe, as an offering. The first fruits were considered to be holy. They were set apart for God. God is making people into first fruits. He's making us into holy people. But that's not all that first fruits means. Look at, he says, a kind of first fruits of his creatures. God is going to redeem, he's going to make all of creation new one day. He is going to make everything new one day. But first, the first fruits of that creation, that new creation that he's going to make, is a new people. He's bringing forth people by the word of truth as first fruits. In other words, Christians are the first picture of the new life God is going to give to the whole planet. He's going to make everything new someday. He's going to redeem everything, all of his creatures, all that he has created. But first, he's redeeming sinners, humans, to a new life with him. That's what God is up to. He's, by his own will, using his word to bring new life to people in order for those people to stand out and show the redeeming, new creating work that God's going to do in the future. And so that's what God's up to, even during this crazy time of change. God is up to the same thing that he's always been up to. He's making a new creation. And if you know Jesus, if you've submitted to Jesus, that's you. You are a part of that new creation that God is making. If you haven't yet come to know Jesus, turn to him today and you can be a part of that new creation. During this season of change, we can trust that even with all the changes going on, God is up to the same thing he's always been up to. He's making a new creation out of this sinful, broken planet. And he's doing it first and foremost by bringing new life to sinners like you and me. So that's just one little verse in James 1. I hope you guys have a really great conversation during small group tonight about this chapter, and we'll see you next week at 7:40 on YouTube. Bye.